Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sterling Live. My name is Caitlin Brower. I'm Sterling's Director of PR and Social Media, and I'm your host for Sterling Live. We have a really awesome episode today because we're bringing you two experts that are true SMEs in their field, and we're going to cover a lot of good stuff, specifically, around like transportation and things like that. So I'm so excited to introduce our guests. We have Andrew Williams, Director of Client Solutions for Transportation, and Morgan Miller, Enterprise Sales Executive for Transportation. As you can see on the bottom, this is our topic today. Paving the Way to Hiring Efficiencies is a series that we're doing. So remove driver roadblocks by consolidating processes. I know someone on LinkedIn already shouted out that they loved this title, so thank you. The title's great, but the content is even better. I promise you that. So I just quickly want to set the stage for this series that we're doing. It's also a blog series that you can see on our website as well. So Andrew and Morgan will be sharing the latest challenges, trends, and solutions in hiring and maintaining compliance of organization's driver workforce. So they're going to cover issues trucking fleets are facing and share practical solutions that can help solve these issues. So for this episode, they're going to discuss the challenges of having multiple separate processes and why organizations should explore integrating those into one single cohesive flow. So again, really good content coming at you. But first, Andrew and Morgan, I'd like for you guys to introduce yourself to the audience and share a little bit more about your role at Sterling. So Andrew, let's start with you.
Yeah. Thanks, Caitlin, and definitely thanks to the person who loved our title. We worked hard on it. So
yes.
Good to see that we're engaging with everybody here. But, as Caitlin, as you said, my name's Andrew Williams. And, what I do here is really just work with our clients, with our prospects, to make sure that we have optimum processes, to make sure that we're looking at things in the right way, and really help how they can interact with a company like Sterling, from the traditional things that you think about for bringing people on board and doing that background check, that drug test that we all know, we all love, but also how we can further, optimize just the start to finish the life cycle of that employee. I've been here for just over 12 years now. I'm going to steal somebody's line, or I think I started at 15, just calling that out. And I've really been focusing on the transportation space for about the past 6. And what I really like about it, is kind of twofold. First, I like stuff. We all like being able to go to the supermarket, and we all like being able to pick up the foods that we want and have the products dropped off to our house. And, the folks that work in this space are just so critical to that. So I just have a great deal of respect for what the companies in the space do and how they make our lives better every single day. And second, I always like to figure out how things work. I'm the kid that took apart the toys when I was little just to figure out how they work. And really what I can do here is kind of take apart processes, understand why people are doing things, and see if there's a better way to do a lot of them. So I guess, Morgan, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Andrew. So my name is Morgan. I've been here a little bit over 7.5 years, focusing specifically on the transportation and industrials space for the last few years. I would say the last 3 to 4. And I'll kind of echo what Andrew had said, right? Really our job here, Andrew and I work really hand in hand, is to, discuss with organizations some of the strengths and weaknesses they have in their current process and some challenges that they're experiencing today, and go from there to hopefully solve, to make the solution that they're working day in and day out, a solution that they're really excited to utilize on a daily basis.
Awesome. So thank you both for joining. I will say, Andrew, welcome back because you were just on Sterling Live. And then Morgan, welcome to Sterling Live. So as a new guest for us. So let's go ahead and get into it. Again, we've got a lot to cover today. I do want to remind our audience, though, if you are watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube right now, if you have questions for Morgan or Andrew throughout the episode, go ahead and put them in the comment section across all 3 of these platforms. And I will get the questions over as I see fit throughout the episode. Let's talk first about the problem, okay? The onboarding process is disjointed and manual. So When we think about the onboarding process, what immediately comes to mind for HR, safety, and compliance teams is ensuring their candidates are going to have a great experience. I think we could all agree on that. We always hear about the candidate experience. They want candidates to get all of their paperwork done quickly, so they can be excited for their first day and all of that good stuff. We don't want anything boring. So unfortunately, getting this positive experience during the onboarding process is a pretty common challenge. Morgan, can you share with the audience the obstacles that hiring teams tend to face, to prevent them from delivering a seamless onboarding experience?
Yeah, of course. So some organizations might have some outdated or clunky systems, and some of the challenges that they typically experience with these are, new drivers are having to enter the same candidate information into multiple systems. Nobody likes to do that. You want to give the information once and be done with it. And quite frankly, then candidates are dropping out of the process. If they're continually putting in the same information time and time again, and they can go someplace else and do it quicker, faster, and more efficiently, they want to be hired and start making money today, right? Another common challenge is users creating driver files manually instead of it just being auto put out there. Users having to pull data from multiple sources to ultimately feed that information into the driver qualification file. And really, this can lead to a lot of inaccuracies. If you're pulling information from multiple systems, there's a chance that you could do so incorrectly, right? Another one would be tracking data points in separate systems. So if we think about MVR monitoring being in one system, driver qualifications being in another system, and potentially having different stakeholders manage those, you run the risk of potentially having drivers be non-compliant on the road just because those systems are not speaking to each other and it's not kind of one end-to-end solution that you can kind of easily be able to see everything. And then another one that really kind of encompasses all of these challenges are when you have separate systems and you have separate vendors, you're also going to have separate account managers. So if you have questions, concerns, issues that you need to speak with somebody, you might be speaking with 3 different account managers of different organizations to ultimately push the driver all the way through the onboarding process. And quite frankly, this is, time consuming for the users and just difficult in, the day-to-day tasks when that person's already very, very busy in their role.
Yeah, and hey, Morgan, one thing that I would also chime in here with is, something that we do run into a lot with companies that aren't like a trucking company or a transportation company as their primary focus, that are going to be, medium-sized companies, even huge companies that might have a very small regulated population or a small fleet. These companies, despite, again, like on the large piece, a lot of times being on the larger size, you're not going to have the resources to do a robust compliance program the way that a transportation, a DOT-focused company is going to do. A great example of where we saw this was a large car manufacturer who, despite having thousands and thousands of employees, only has a handful of CDLs. So they're just not able to invest the way that many other companies that have thousands upon thousands of drivers are going to. So that's something that kind of we see as a challenge, and we see it as a challenge to good compliance on, a huge part of the American economy.
Yeah. Quite frankly, we still need to make sure that even if it's a small set of drivers, that we're being compliant and we're pushing everybody through the process effectively, even though it's a smaller subset group.
Absolutely.
So obviously there's a lot of obstacles, but the good news is that there is a solution that we can talk about, and it's around integrating systems into one workflow. So you both just shared obviously how manual, these processes can get. So what can organizations, who manage drivers do to handle the issues that come with having that disjointed process? So Andrew, I'm going to come to you first and then Morgan for you to come in after.
Yeah, so Caitlin, sometimes I really hate to give this kind of answer because it's going to sound very simplistic, especially on paper. But, to be very transparent, there are some complexities about getting this into the real world and getting this to be actually useful to your user populations. And it's, why I say it's simple, it's, we need to be kind of forward thinking and using technology to overtake the things that still in here in 2024 are being done in a very manual process. Just think about kind of the systems that you have today that your candidates are touching, that your users are touching. Just to rattle off a few, and I'm sure I'm going to forget some, so Morgan, keep me honest here. They're touching your applicant tracking system. They're touching your background check provider like Sterling. They're touching your HRIS system, which may be the same as your applicant tracking system. It may not be. They're in, your driver qualification system, or, even just a paper driver qualification file. You're engaged in either annual MVRs or MVR monitoring or both. You need your drivers into this route management system, just to name a few. And I don't know, Morgan, if you think I missed some there.
Yeah, I mean, organizations specifically have systems that they need to integrate at times. It could just be a one-off. It could be like a financial system, a payroll system, right, that they need kind of incorporated into the process that we've done. So it really could be a number. It's really important to the organization. So we're happy to integrate however we can.
Yeah, and the thing about each of these systems, and I know it sounds like we're still kind of defining the problem here, but I promise that there is a solution in this. Each of these systems has a different purpose and a different need. So your applicant tracking system is going to collect different information than your background check provider, than your driver qualification file. But that information is going to be, the large part of that information is going to be required at each step of the process. So if you already have it, why are we not using technology to push that through to the next place? So you capture an application with name, employment history. That obviously needs to come to your background check from your applicant tracking system. But then you also want to make sure that you're pushing that into the driver qualification file. There's no reason that your drivers should go in there and start manually entering, their employment history, their driver's license number, all of this stuff that they've already given to you, and maybe more than once, really needs to be carried over. And also, like, why do you really need somebody to go in there and create a driver file when they have a clear background check, when you've already provided enough of that information to get it to be done? So the solution that we see, and where we really see the most benefit to our clients, is using APIs, using integration technology to really pass that through from one part to the other. Take that information, start at your applicant tracking system, have your background check provider take care of that. Then you're going to push that information directly over to that driver qualification file. We know what role they're going into. Sterling's going to know what location they are. We have all of that information to create that shell of the file, and then have your driver qualification file capture the official driver application, get some of that additional information that's not required anywhere forward but building on it. And then kind of downstream, once you have that driver onboarded, your driver file knows everything about these drivers. It should be running your MVRs. It should be running your MVR monitoring. It knows when that driver is compliant based off of the standards that you have for a specific position, for the regulations. It needs to be able to talk to your route management system so you know that that driver is eligible to go out and drop off the products. At the same kind of time, when you term somebody or somebody changes roles, you're going into your HRIS system and you're marking them as no longer with the organization. You need to have that exported directly into your driver file, so you're no longer at the mercy of Department A telling Department B to have Department C do something. And that's, like I said, I've talked a lot about a really simple solution, but it's quite elegant at the end of the day, and it's going to free up a lot of time. And even more important than that, it's going to boost your compliance numbers.
Yeah, way more automated for the users who are using them, and way quicker and more efficient for the drivers that are being onboarded, quite frankly.
Let's lean into the technology-based approach a little bit more. So Morgan, I'll start with you on this question, and then Andrew, come in. So what are some of the key considerations hiring teams need to think about before exploring, this technology-based approach to make, this solution a little bit more successful?
Yeah, great question. So, first is just to make sure that you have clear and fully up-to-date policies, especially around driver compliance. So reviewing those on a very timely basis is helpful. Another one that we see, and is probably the most important one that I want to call out here, is mapping and understanding all stakeholders who need to be a part of the conversations around driver compliance as a whole. having 3 of the 5 people that are needed ultimately leads to more questions down the line, and just having everybody included in the conversation really makes the end goal the most, perfect solution for everybody within the organization. And Andrew, I'll let you add on a couple of there as well.
Yeah, and so my big one is you really need to take an honest look at your program and where it stands today. You're probably doing a lot of things really well, but you're gonna have that program's gonna have some weaknesses, and being able to look at it objectively and kind of take ego out of the room and just say, what are we doing well? How do we build upon that? And where are we not doing the kind of job that we need to do to deliver the results back to our drivers, the community as a whole in terms of safety, the business. So knowing, where you're strong, where you're weak is critical, and that's a really foundational starting point. And then, while this might seem, again, a little obvious, you need to understand what your ideal process is. A lot of times when we have conversations, there's no real goal for what you're trying to accomplish. So having that clear goal of what you're trying to do with this process and how you envision, the entirety of hiring drivers, screening drivers, onboarding drivers, keeping them compliant, and knowing what that best state is going to really ensure that as we go through a process, you're going to know exactly what you need out of each case, and then we're going to be able to build the best process together. And then one kind of additional thing that I would say, and it kind of goes back to what Morgan was talking about, the stakeholders, is just having honest conversations with each other about where the process can improve. And this is beyond just the regulated space. So a great example that kind of we ran into kind of recently with a large manufacturing customer was around instant drug tests, because they were having, a big challenge in some of their more remote locations. And an instant test that automatically zips into the Sterling system was kind of their ideal solution. So the people that were responsible for administering the program and actually getting the screening done, getting people through the process, was incredibly excited. But the folks that were in charge of the compliance end and the policy documents were like, hey, we can't do that. That's against the policy. So I think that really just highlights kind of the situation where, hey, knowing what the goal is, partnering with all of those stakeholders, to just knowing that you're going to make some changes, knowing that you have to change policies, knowing that you might have to change things that you've done for 15, 20 years, going into that with eyes open really is something that makes the process far more enjoyable for everybody that's involved versus, kind of the conflict that could come the other way.
Yeah. And I think the one thing, Andrew, you added there, you mentioned 15 to 20 years, right? What worked back then is not going to work today and be the most effective. So just really being open to improving the program, bringing everybody on board is ultimately just going to really help some of the pain points.
So I'll take a second here and just give a gentle reminder, if you are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube live with us right now, if you have any questions for Andrew and Morgan, please go ahead and get them in the comment section. So while we wait for any final questions to come through, we've talked a lot today, around this. I really love how the two of you outlined the problem and the solution, just really kind of like right there. It was really easy to understand. And sometimes, Andrew, I know you said simple. Simple is better sometimes. And I think this is what we're trying to do here with this simple solution. So I would love to just get, the final thoughts from the two of you on today's topic, how we can support these organizations and anything else you'd like to add. So Andrew, I will start with you.
Yeah. Obviously if there's questions, we'd love to see them, drop them in there, or you can reach out to us afterwards, because, we talk about this all day, every day. It's what we like to do. But more than that, I just want to thank everybody who joined today for carving out a few minutes in their busy days to listen to us here. Our goal is really just to help folks have to move stuff, build a better process, whether you have 10 drivers or 60,000. We're here to support and drive better programs.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for your time. We hope this was informational. We look forward to having more blogs and conversations about this. And I think the one thing that I'll call out is if there's any topics that you guys do find important, please feel free to put them in the comments or reach out to Andrew and I directly. We are more than happy to add it to the schedule if we're able to, for a future blog, to talk through things on a call, whatever's easiest for you all. But we really appreciate all of your time today.
You guys, again, are true experts in the field. So I know everyone is very much appreciative of the content that was delivered. As both of the guests said, if you want to talk further about these things, if you have questions, if you have suggestions on topics to talk about, please go ahead, reach out to them. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to the Sterling, the corporate LinkedIn page, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you would like to contact us. If you do want more information, also, you can go to our website. You can go to sterlingcheck.com/transportation. Also go to our resources section in our blog. As I said earlier, this is based off of a blog that we have, and we're coming out with more within the series. So please stay tuned for that. And then with this Paving the Way to Hiring Efficiencies series, we're going to talk more about managing driver risk in the future. So you will see that coming out. So with that being said, I will say thank you again to my guests. I very much appreciate you guys being here, and I will thank our audience, whether you're watching live or on demand. We do have an episode next week, so I will catch you then. But again, thank you both. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.